The Korean-Jurchen conflicts were a series conflicts from the 10th century to the 17th century between the Korean states of Goryeo and Joseon and the Jurchen people. The ancestors of the Jurchen were the Mohe and the descendants were the Manchu people. Background: after the fall of Bali, parts of the northern Korean peninsula fell into the hands of the Tungusic Mohe people and the descendants the Jurchen people. During the Liao dynasty, Jin dynasty and Yuan dynasty the area was under the control of Jurchen chieftains. The Korean kingdoms of Goryeo and its successor Joseon fought their way up the Korean peninsula and annexed land from the Jurchen, culminating in Joseon taking total control of the Korean peninsula after seizing control of Hamgyong from the Jurchens. According to the Goryeo, in 918, the ancient capital of Pyongyang had been in ruins for a long time and foreign barbarians were using the surrounding lands as hunting grounds and occasionally raiding the borders of Goryeo. Therefore, Wang Jian ordered his subjects to repopulate the ancient capital, and soon thereafter sent his cousin Wang Sikryom to defend it. In 993, the land between the border of Liao and Goryeo was occupied by troublesome Jurchen tribes, but the Goryeo diplomat Xiao Hui was able to negotiate with Liao and obtain that land up to the Yalu River, citing that in the past it belonged to Goryeo, the predecessor to Goryeo. Timeline of the Korean-Jurchen Wars. Under Goryeo period, the Jurchens in the Yalu River region were tributaries of Goryeo since the reign of Wang Jian, who called upon them during the wars of the later Three Kingdoms period. But the Jurchens switched allegiance between Liao and Goryeo multiple times, taking advantage of the tension between the two nations, posing a potential threat to Goryeo's border security. The Jurchens offered tribute to the Goryeo court, expecting lavish gifts in return. In 984, Goryeo began to build a fortress on the banks of the Yalu River but were hindered by the Jurchen, who caused the work to be suspended. 1010. Hao Gongjin and Yu Chung attacked the eastern Jurchen's tribes. The Jurchen ravaged the northeast boundary of Goryeo Kingdom in 1012. Joined with the Khitan, the Jurchen crossed the Yalu border but were driven back by Kim Sang-wai. To defend against the Jurchens and Khitans, a long wall was built by Goryeo in 1033 to 1034 along with many border forts. Under Wanyan Wuyashu's order, Shishuan led Jurchen army of the Tumen River Basin, subdued Jurchen in Helandian and advanced southward to chase about 1,800 remnants who defected to Goryeo. Goryeo did not hand them over but sent Imgan to intercept the Wanyan army. However, Shishuan defeated Imgan north of the Chongpyong Wall and invaded northeastern frontier of Goryeo. Goryeo dispatched Yunguan but lost a battle again. As a result, Wuyashu subjugated the Jurchen in Helandian. In 1107, Goryeo dispatched 5 large armies led by Yunguan to Helandian. They destroyed 100 Jurchen villages and built 9 fortresses there. After a one-year battle, the Wanyan army won 2 fortresses and eliminated Goryeo reinforcements. Goryeo and the Jurchen achieved settlement and, as a result, Goryeo withdrew from the occupied areas. During the reign of Jurchen leader Wuyashu in 1103 to 1113, the border between the two nations was stabilized and Korean forces withdrew from Jurchen territories, acknowledging Jurchen dominance over the contested region. California 1364 and AMP around 1383. Under Joseon period there were 2 kind of Jurchens: the enemy, treacherous Jurchens, and the defensive, boundary Jurchens considered as Jianzhou Jurchens living in Korean Korean borders. The modern-day northeastern part of the Korean peninsula in Hamgyong used to belong to the Jurchens and was inhabited by Jurchen tribes. During the Liao, Jin, and Yuan dynasties, it was put under Jurchen tribal jurisdiction. After the collapse of Yuan dynasty power, Goryeo and then Joseon made the Jurchens in the area around Hamhung on the northern Korean peninsula submit. As vassals, however, the Ming dynasty sought to take control of the Jurchen tribes and claimed all of the land which belonged to the Jin and Liao dynasties north of Shanzhou. But the Koreans utilized mistakes in the texts of the Jin Shi and Liao Shi in the Untitled chapters to say that the area belonged to Korea, and the Ming conceded the area since there was no proof available to the Ming for Jin and Liao control of those places, even though in reality the land were indeed under Jin rule, as evidenced by epigraphs carved in stone by the Jurchen. The Joseon Koreans tried to deal with the military threat posed by the Jurchen by using both forceful means and incentives, and by launching military attacks, while at the same time they tried to appease them with titles and degrees, traded with them, and sought to acculturate them by having Korean women marry Jurchens and integrating them into Korean culture. Despite these measures, fighting continued between the Jurchen and the Koreans. The Ming Yongle Emperor was determined to wrest the Jurchens out of Korean influence and have China dominate them instead. Korea tried to persuade Jurchen leader Menmu to reject the Ming overtures, but were unsuccessful since Monkey Timur folded and submitted to the Ming. Joseon under Sejong the Great then engaged in military campaigns against the Jurchen, and after defeating the Odali, Maolian and Udij clans, Joseon managed to take control of Hamgyong. The modern borders of Korea were finalized when the northeast region was conquered by the year around 1450. Several border forts were established in the conquered northeast. In 1467, Ming China and Joseon defeated the Hulagai clan and killed the leader Li Manchu. 1409 Invasion of Gyeongwon. 1432 to 1433, Li Manchu, the chief of the Hulagai, was beaten by Joseon's expedition led by General Cho Yun Deok. 1436, two powerful Jurchen tribes crossed the Tumen River and invaded the Hamgildo province, present-day Hamgyong province, which have been recently repopulated by Korean settlers. 1460, the invasion of the Hamgildo province by the Oronghae forces led by Joseon army led a counter-offensive. 1467, Li Manchu was killed after a joint Korean-Ming attack. California. 1480, wars between Joseon army and the Jurchens on the An northeast China. 1482, two forts on the Yalu were built near the town of Kangye. 1491, Gen Heojong led several military campaigns against the Jurchens on the northern border. They were successful and repulsed the defeated Jurchens to the north of the Tumen River. California. 1520, the Jurchens of the north ravaged the Korean borders. The Joseon king sent troops against them. California. 1555, the Jurchens tribe of Kolgan Bull crossed the northern border and harried the border town. California. 1570, the Jurchens across the Yalu were crossing that river and taking possessions of fields in Korea proper, near the town of Kangye. The king sent a force under Kim Tong-yung to dislodge them. The intruders were chased across the river and into a narrow defile where they turned on the pursuers. Taken thus by surprise, the Korean forces were thrown into confusion and were put to flight after the general was killed. A second expedition chased the intruders to the villages and burned them out. 1583, a fierce invasion, led by Ponho chieftains occurred on the northern part of Hamgyong province. The prefecture of Gyeongwon was taken, but Shinrip, the prefect of Onsung, went to its succor and after a desperate fight before the town, He broke back of the invasion and drove the invaders back across the Tumen and burned the villages. Two chieftains, Yalpo-ri and Yitiangar, advanced by separate roads upon Kaongsung with 10,000 mounted followers, but the little garrison of 100 men fought so stubbornly that the siege was raised and the two chieftains marched on to attack Pangweon. The Joseon troops arrived just in time to drive the invaders back. 1588 Outbreaks of the far northern border, and Gen. Yi-il along with took a small force of 400 men, crossed the Tumen River on the ice and attacked the Tudo-Jurchen's tribe, killing 33 peoples among them on 1588 1 meter 14d. Being successful in this, he took 2,500 men along with the prefects of Hwayong, Onsong and Pureyong, crossed the same river at 4 different points simultaneously and attacked the Sijin-Jurchen's tribe by night, burning 200 houses and killing 380 peoples. On 1588 1 meter 15d. 1592. During the Imjin War, Kato Kiyomasa and renegades Koreans from Hwayong invaded the Orong-ai. 1605. A fierce conflict between the Jurchen tribe of Holcharon, north of the Tumen River, and the Joseon troops under Gen. Song Yugil. The latter crossed the river by night and attacked the main settlement of the tribe and utterly destroyed it, and effectually broke up the tribe. Great quantities of goods which had been stolen from the border settlements were also recovered. Timeline of the Korean-Manchu Wars. 1619. Battle of Sahu. 1627. First Manchu invasion of Korea. The Jurchens of the later Jin, who later became the Manchus, inflicted a crushing defeat upon Joseon Korea in the 1627 invasion. 1636 to 1637. Second Manchu invasion of Korea. The Manchus inflicted a decisive defeat upon the Koreans and forced the Korean king to perform a humiliating ritual of submission along with erecting the Samjundo monument.